Yet another story. Story number 3 of Stories from the Hole. Early on in my trip, this is a story I neglected to tell, or maybe I told it in some part, but I never made this connection. So early on, I'm riding out of Florida, and I'm riding I'm between Ocala and Tallahassee, where my sisters lived, and I was lucky enough in the first couple of towns that I passed through in Florida, just beginning my ride, were family and friends, people that I knew that I could stay with, really close to one another, which was a big blessing because I, was really scared, still really anxious, really nervous early on, didn't know what I was doing, was on the verge of quitting every day, wasn't used to the riding at all, wasn't used to being out by myself at all, wasn't used to camping out alone at all. Like, I had never done any long distance bike trip, never done any of this before, so I was really nervous at the beginning. So, yeah, I'm at the beginning of my trip, and outside of this town called Perry, I get a flat, and I'd never changed a flat tire before. I'm in the middle of a long distance, or at the beginning of a long distance bike trip, never changed a tire. Didn't know what I was doing, was super nervous, and a guy drives me about 15 miles into town, and I get a hotel room, and I'm just trapped in this hotel room by myself with this flat tire and this bike, with this immobile bike. I barely even know how to use my pump. I really didn't even know how to use the pump that I had, and it was a cheap one. So I remember that night on the phone, I was on the phone with my friend John Rivera, who was going through his own kind of life changes then, and turmoil and stress, and I remember just trying to talk him along because I realized at that point, like, it was probably a bad idea for me to never have done this before and leave by myself. That is what I realized early on. Like, I probably should have really tried to find someone to go with me. I didn't, and I was determined to at that point. So I kind of was talking to John, and he was talking to me about how he was kind of lost in his life at that point, and all this, and I thought it was a sign from God that maybe John should come out and do this trip with me. So I was like, hey dude, you're not doing anything, you lost your job, you're losing your apartment, nothing's tying you to where you are, come out and do this trip with me. Like, you've never seen the country either, like, let's go see the country. Like, you can drive and I'll ride, and we'll do this trip together, at least until California. And we talked for a long time, going back and forth, and I'm sure John was tempted. I think he even asked his family about it. And I just kept harping on, and I don't think I was pushy, but I was definitely I definitely thought it was something that would be good for the both of us. And I was really trying to convince John of that. But, I think wisely he didn't end up doing that. And, I'm just praying, in Jesus' name for something. Like, am I supposed to continue this trip? Why am I by myself? I'm really scared. I'm really nervous. I don't know if I can make it. I think I'll just end up quitting. I put all this money and time into it. But I was really scared, and really. So the one thing I never put together was the day after, that next day, when I finally got my bike fixed and left Perry and left. About maybe 2 hours into the ride, I see a guy behind me on the road also riding a bicycle in the same direction. And this has only happened, so this is really early in my trip. This has only happened one or two other times since that I've seen somebody riding in the same direction as me, also doing a tour. And it was my friend Brent, who on and off, I'm still in contact with him now, on and off, been riding with, we rode together pretty much on and off all the way across to San Diego. I haven't seen him since San Diego, but for most of the time, I was with him. And so yeah, he rode up behind me, and we got together that day, and we rode all the way to Tallahassee together, and then I didn't see him for about 2-3 weeks, and then we got together again in Mobile, Alabama, and yeah, I mean, I remember that being like a big deal, and I never put it together that it's something that I was so distraught about, something that I prayed about, and all of a sudden I had a riding buddy the next day. I never put that together, that it was the very next day after I tried so hard to convince John to come with me and all this, that all of a sudden I had a riding buddy. It's really astounding, and I'm listening to some Pandora right now. I think this is the Knife Radio. So anyway, I'd never put that together, that I had prayed for like somebody to ride with me and all this, and it actually came together, and I had somebody to ride with me, and it was given what I needed to finish the trip. Like, God really took care of me, and I don't know. I thank God for that. You know, in Jesus' name, I'm really blessed, and it's really awesome that that happened. Like, that is the reason I finished. You know, I rode all the way, or at least rode all the way to the point I am now, where I rode to Seattle. If that hadn't happened, I may have quit within the next couple of days. You know, but and Brandon and I only rode together for one day, and then I was in Tallahassee for like 4 or 5 days, and then I left again by myself, and I was alone by myself again. But just having somebody to ride with that one day, and believing that, hey, we're gonna meet up again, and we did after a few weeks, that was enough to keep me going. You know, God put the things in my path to keep me going that I needed, and He continues to do that all the time. So that's story number 3 from the hole. Stories from the hole. Yeah. Speare out.